Okay. I'll now call the regular board meeting of the Ohio Valley Sanitary District to order at 6 p.m. And Allison, can you please take roll?
Sure. Director Kentosh,
Here.
Director Quillisi,
Here.
Director Reed, Director Ulrich. Bill, can you hear me? I'm doing roll.
I can, yes.
Okay, awesome. And then Director Curtis. He is on. Okay,
Not yet.
perfect. And then we have Vice Chair Berg, who is acting chair present at TICO.
Thank you. Okay, would you please stand and join me in the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda tonight? A long agenda, so clearly passion and try to get out of here before. Are there any public concerns for items that are not on the agenda tonight? This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on any item not on the agenda, but under the subject matter jurisdiction of the Ohio Valley Sanitary. No public concerns. Okay. Let's move on to the consent items. One motion, items 6, 7, and 8. Are there any comments about items 6, 7, and 8?
I'll move approval of 6, 7, and 8.
Any further discussion on those items? Yeah, Allison, please take the roll.
Director Ulrich,
Excuse me?
we're moving for approval of 6, 7, and 8.
Yes.
Director Kentosh,
Yes.
Director Quillisi,
Yes.
Director Reed,
Yes.
and Director Berg.
Yes. Okay, item 9. For discussion, this is not a, come up for a vote. Total maximum daily load, plant upgrade, project startup, operational adjustments, commissioning update. Would like to start.
Oh, I'll start. There's a lot in here and I'm gonna try to give, I'm gonna try to paraphrase this. We have some STEMS tech folk with us today and they're probably gonna weigh in. So I want to kind of give a quick update of what has happened, what we think is happening and where we're going. So we did a preliminary startup of the TMDL filters in 2024. Preliminary startup really included only 4 of the 6 sand filters and 1 oxidation ditch. So it's important that everyone keep that in mind, that we had 4 out of the 6 and 1 out of the 2 respectively for the filters and the oxidation ditch. That was in May and June of 2024. The run lasted about 2 weeks and it was stopped just because there wasn't a necessity to run it any further. It looked as if it was progressing as somewhat normal. And it was stopped. Subsequent to that, they finished the oxidation ditch number 1. And they also finished TMDL filters 5 and 6. And I think perhaps Sean may weigh in a little bit on that in the future on the stopping. Should we have run a little longer than 2 weeks? I'm not sure. So subsequent to that, in about it was in 2025, we did another startup of the system. Now this startup included both oxidation ditches and all 6 filters. That first startup, we ended up with a sticky, thick biomass that we've seen a review on and a presentation of. And the theory is that biomass was related to dissolved oxygen fluctuations. So we call it DO, dissolved oxygen. And the fluctuations were causing the biomass that's naturally in the treatment process to excrete this EPS extracellular polymeric surface stuff. Yeah, exactly. Substance. And so that it's a sticky mess that gets on the outside, and it's a protective layer of the biology. There was a theory from Stantec. We heard it that, hey, let's try to mitigate the DO. And the way we tried to mitigate the DO was adding a chemical called sodium bisulfate. So sodium bisulfate will react with oxygen. It will take the DO down, and we'll kind of get a flat level of DO. We did that. Seemed to get a little bit better results, but over a time frame when we started to get some nitrate and some nitrite fluctuations, and that was kind of out of the norm. And we also started to see what could possibly be called the glycogen accumulating organisms. What they are is it's biology that's in there that tends, I think that what the PhDs are going to tell us is it tends to consume it calls, which is glycerin, related to glycerin. The micro C2000 that we're using is a glycerin-based product. So you have high amount of glycerin. We shut down that test because we were getting high nitrates, and we started to see a biomass forming on the backside. That biomass was likely from not fully consumed carbon, or it may have been a byproduct of the glycerin. So with all of that said, what we have done is Stantec has prepared or helped us prepare a startup procedure. That startup procedure is what we're going to follow, and so Stantec can weigh in on some of the questions for that. I'm just going to wrap up my presentation real quick. So one of the things I did do is I reached out to our legal counsel, because we did have a due date of June 28th to go online with our new our operation and our permit became effective with the new tighter TMDL limits on June 28th. At that time, we were not meeting those limits. So I reached out to council and prepared a letter. They reviewed it. I submitted that over to the state control board for their review, asking for a few things. One, asking for a reprieve of any mandatory minimum penalties that we may have gotten with our nitrate and nitrite effluences or exceedances. And asking that at this point, we realize that this is a very complex biological system. It was not as simple as throwing a couple switches and turning a few valves and firing things up. And that we were going to ask to start with this new operation plan, another startup on August 18th. Ball is in the regional board's court for their consideration at this point. That's my summary of that. Stantec wants to weigh in, or if you have questions for Stantec, they're on board. And we have a related but different item for item 10. So if we get into any financial stuff, I recommend that we hold off until item 10.
Okay, at this point, would Stantec like to address the board?
Yeah, sure. I can weigh in. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Is it
this is
Sean?
Sean.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Sean Larson with Stantec. Thank you again for the invite. Yeah, just to echo what was just related. Last meeting that we were there, we had a hypothesis that the biomass bloom, which was the issue we came to talk about last time, was caused by potentially three things: algae, EPS, and varying DO. We tried to mitigate that by breaking the chain using SBS, and at that board meeting, we got some positive news that denitrification was occurring, and we didn't see that same biomass bloom presenting in the filters. We did have tapering down of nitrate levels, just like we did in 2024. That lasted for about the same period of time, a couple weeks, that we observed it denitrifying about a year prior in 2024. 2024, we did stop the test after about 2 weeks because we didn't need to keep those filters running to meet compliance. But this time around, when we hit that about 2 week mark, and Bradshaw can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think around that 2 week mark, they started seeing breakthrough of BOD, which is the carbon, and they started seeing increases in nitrites. And we are hypothesizing this time that that could be a result of one of two things. Either maldistribution of flow through the filters, where flow is just punching through just one filter with other filters kind of plugged off, and we see the carbon not really consumed entirely by the time it gets through that one filter, and only partial denitrification occurring. Or it could be the result of GAOs. GAOs are a specific type of organism that would favor the type of carbon feed that is being fed into the filters, which is micro C2000. And that condition would present similar aspects where you would see them kind of grow, and then after they kind of reach a stasis level in there, they would stop consuming the full amount of carbon and stop doing a full denitrification cycle. So like Scott said, we've presented a recommendation for a startup plan that would tackle both of those potential issues, with a plan to kind of pare things back from a successful run to be able to optimize the filters after we get it up and running and in compliance. And in the meantime, we've been working with OHI to optimize the ditches to reduce the total nitrates entering the filters, so that the operators have a better margin to play with. They're trying to reduce the nitrates a bit less than they were before. So it'll reduce the amount of carbon, therefore, that has to be fed, and therefore, theoretically, the amount of reduce the risk of carbon breakthrough through the filters. Bradshaw, is that a fair assessment?
That is a very fair assessment. Good job. Thank you.
Okay. That's I think all I got. Scott, unless you had anything else you wanted me to expand on.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean. Scott, I think you mentioned the date that you expected us to mission.
Yeah, so we're going to start up the filters on August 18th. Yeah, that's what we're looking for, and that's what I asked the state to consider. There's a handful of reasons for that. One is there's a very explicit California water code that provides for a 90-day reprieve if you're starting a biological process. So we fit within that 90-day reprieve. And the other reality is Bradshaw and the team down at the treatment plant is Stantec's recommendation was to reduce the age of the biology, and they can't just do that overnight. It takes 45-ish or so days to really reduce the age of the biology and have that new biology running in somewhat of a, living in a steady state. And that's that August 18th date is what I forecast back on July 17th when I submitted the letter to the state.
Nice, very good. Are there any comments from the director? Yes, Steve.
I'm just curious, how many ditches and how many filters right now?
Well, we currently have 2 ditches online, and we're currently running, I think, all 6 filters currently. But they're not in biological mode. The filters are not in biological mode, just in filter mode.
We're not injecting carbon.
We haven't provided any food to actually try to.
No bugs in the sand right now?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Don't have any biology growing in the sand. We're just using them as tertiary filters.
What kind of nitrate levels are we producing now?
It's a good question. About 3.1. This is 4 to 6 before. So we've made significant progress with reducing our nitrates in the oxidation ditch biological system by reducing our solids inventory and resulting in a sludge age, right?
And what number do we have to hit now under the new?
We need to get it to be about a 1.5 to a 2. If without further reducing nitrates in the filters, ideally we get to a 1.5 to a 2 to actually cumulatively meet our seasonal limits for nitrogen.
Seems logical that we able to do that.
Well, we got a little bit more work to do. We need to feed carbon potentially with the ditches. We need to maybe do some automated approach to our vertical gauge, which feeds flow from our aerobic zone back to our anoxic zones on our ditches. They're going to automate that. We'll probably play with it manually for a while and add some more carbon and see if we can further drive these nitrates down. And then we may want to take the ditch offline, and we potentially could further reduce our nitrates by on one ditch and controlling our carbon feed of the ditch. So that all remains to be seen there yet. We're continuing to work towards bringing our nitrates down further in the oxidation ditches. If we accomplish that, it might make it a little easier for us to find steady state operation with our tertiary filters downstream of the oxidation ditches. Not as many nitrates go in there. So maybe that reduces the amount of carbon we got to feed, and maybe it kind of alleviates to some extent some of these issues that we're encountering with running the nitrification filters.
Sounds like a good.
And you can reintroduce biology into the sand filters?
We are going to on the 18th, we're looking to fire those back up, regardless of what our nitrates are at the oxidation ditches, and try another run. And we're going to use Micro C 2000, which we have on hand, and we're going to mix it per ratio. We're going to mix it with Micro C 1000 to actually change the formulation of that product.
We don't carbon or
has less glycerin. They mentioned glycerin be a probable cause of some of the issues we're experiencing, and then we'll just see how that works. And we're going to be able to alleviate some of this.
But say you start up on the 18th of August. How long? Give it. You said we have a 90-day window to start a new biology. That's fine. How long do we have to demonstrate that the new biology working, or somebody gets more upset than they are right now?
So our permit will go into winter mode on October 31st or September 31st? September 31st. So we will go into winter mode in September 31st, where our exceedance limits increase. They'll hop up to 7.8, I believe is what it is for the nitrate in the winter mode.
Nitrate is 4.6.
4.6. I'm sorry. Okay, 4.6. So that's our average on that.
Right now.
We're below that right now.
We can meet our winter limits right now without denitrification filters, based on the strategy we're using for the oxidation ditches right now with a younger sludge age.
We've got 6 weeks to get under that low bar.
There's that, and then and part of the other concern is, I think we're all realistic that it may be a possibility of running with one oxidation ditch in the summertime. It's going to be impossible for us to do that in the wintertime because of the unknown fluctuations that I mean, if it's a wet year, there's going to be too much flow. So we have to go online with 2 oxidation ditches for the wintertime.
There's some other variables to that too. If we run 2 oxidation ditches at our current sludge age, meaning we have less biology and we have high hydraulic periods and we experience short circuiting throughout the plant, it's going to be really hard to maintain the biological health in our oxidation ditches, because at times, due to really high flows, we shut down the aerators, we let our solids settle out period of time, 3-4 hours during extreme flows, and then we turn the aerators back on, because what we don't want to happen is we get such high hydraulics that it pushes the solids out of the oxidation ditches, pushes it to our clarifiers, short circuit the clarifiers, goes to our filters and plugs off our filters. So we try to maintain our biological health. Way we did it before with a longer sludge age, more solids inventory, we were able to shut those aerators off periodically during extreme flows, and we're able to turn them on, and actually we're able to maintain the biological health. bugs came up, they started getting mixed around again. They started consuming DO. Those are indicators that our bugs are good to go. And we're able to roll through many years like that. For these current conditions with less biology, not so sure that we can run an 18-day cell residence time and not have as many solids and be able to get through periods like that. So there's a lot of things to think about moving forward. Hydraulically, we can't run on one ditch, and it's probable we may not be able to run on 2 ditches for these current conditions where we're able to lower our nitrates
For summertime.
summertime.
This has to be going on around the state at different districts,
I don't know.
tightening.
I don't have a good answer for that. The answer is I don't know. I don't know if our TMDLs are into it. No, I have asked, I did ask Stantec to do some research on that. They did research and they also don't know of anyone that has as stringent requirements as what we have.
A lot of places
Is that
have stringent.
fair to say?
Because we're dumping into the river?
Yes. Yeah, because we dump into the river, we have very stringent requirements. Most places in the county are either using recycled water. With recycled water, what you can do is you just blast it with a little bit of chlorine and you take care of any residual nitrates. Plus, no one really cares what the nitrate level is in recycled water.
Just irrigating.
I mean, it's just fertilizer, right? So it's like,
Only,
so
only
We're-
golf
we're-
courses,
Golf course.
only golf courses care about the level of nitrates in reclaimed water because it has a tendency of killing their grass. If I may, and Bradshaw, please correct me where I misspeak myself. My assessment, my understanding, and same Scott as well. Please correct me where I misspeak myself. We have $100,000 in. I don't know whether I characterize it as unanticipated expenses. We don't have a clear path to a solution. We had a startup with only one oxidation ditch online because the other oxidation ditch was still under construction or had some issues relative to completion and sequencing so that it could go online. And as I understand it, having heard from several sources, including Mr. Larson just now, we don't really have a solution to what the issues presenting are, which is, in my experience, a recipe for problems down the road, notwithstanding the seasonal requirements. And every statement that I've heard from various sources is tantamount to either supposition or a guess. So that isn't giving me what characterizes normally as the warm and fuzzies about how we're going forward. Is there anyone who can say anything? Have I misspoken about any of the elements or the presenting conditions yet?
I think that was well said, and that kind of characterizes kind of where we're at.
Okay, so you were kind of, to me, we're kind of trying to move forward, but we're not sure what and how and exactly. And I don't want to suggest we go back to square one, but it was not having the system is designed to have 2 oxidation ditches. And when it was initiated, only one was online. One was capable of going online. And at this point, we have 2, but as I understand it, but they still don't work both of them don't work at the same time, and no one is sure why. And as I said, $100,000 relates to additional Stantec charges and additional biological analysis, which was a substantial amount for a biological. I'm not so familiar. I don't know who is. Perhaps Stantec is, but that a biological analysis is quite that pricey. And if it resolved things and provided answers, that's great. But my understanding is it answered some questions, but it still left other questions unanswered. So the reality of it, from my perspective, and I'm uninitiated in these particulars of the, shall I say, the biological and the design particularities, but we don't have a system that has been delivered that is functioning as from our perspective, let alone from what we have to represent to the state. So my question is, when are we going to get that? And I haven't heard that question being posed. I haven't heard that question being answered. And we don't know. Doesn't seem quite to me at this particular point as a viable statement or a viable state of play. So I really would like to know, and once again, the particulars, the details, the science, while helpful, doesn't tell me, the layperson, when the delivery date's going to occur, and the reasons that the delivery date hasn't been delivered is also seems to be elusive. So the more I'm learning about this, the more concerned I am, because there's a lot of ephemeral concerns and conditions when this is, and I understand biologicals and nature doesn't always follow clear directional purpose, but I don't know where we're at. And that's not where, as an agency, I think we want to be. So does anyone have anything to contribute to that notion, or disabuse me of my notion?
Well, I think you kind of coined it. We all have that same question, as we continue to work towards, continuing to evaluate our biology and find an endpoint and be able to deliver the good news as to we found a steady state operation, and these are some of the contributing factors as to why we were having trouble with the biology.
Okay.
Give you a
Right.
definitive answer, but you nailed it as to where we're at.
Okay. Well, thank you. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. John, you were about to comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna clarify, the two ditches are operating quite well. Bradshaw and the operators out there have been able to operate the oxidation ditches to a point past their design levels, what they're designed for denitrification, to achieve this 3.0 nitrates that they're hitting right now on average. But yes, the filters, you are correct. The filters themselves, we had a biomass bloom issue this spring that we worked towards resolving, and the last filter run was, and that's what the microbiology assessment was for, was to assess that and try to get it under control. It seems like we've successfully tackled that before in the last filter run.
Excuse me, Sean. So
Yes.
what was the upshot of what did we get for $43,000?
For our fee?
No. That was for the bio assessment. Or maybe the number. I might have the number wrong. Maybe it was 47, but I'm basically saying it was a substantial amount for a biological assessment.
It
I
was.
didn't see or read what that produced as far as direction or confirmation or
Yeah.
what was the upshot? What was the result of that outlay?
It confirmed some of the algae, sorry, a technical memo has been produced and sent in to OHI. So that I don't want to misspeak and characterize that TM incorrectly, but you are correct that the fee was quite high, higher than we expected. A lot of that was due to rush fees. If you look at their invoice, and that's because compliance deadline was coming up quickly. But yeah, it characterized sources of algae that we were all thinking was contributing to that biomass bloom, and that we were trying to break as one of the 3 contributors to that issue.
Oh, okay, so you're saying it confirmed what the source of the algae is, but not why the algae
Well,
occurred?
we were trying to see if there was any, not only algae, but if there was anything unexpected microbiology wise that was contributing to that biomass growth. And we did not find anything out of the ordinary that was unexpected.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the assessment, the biological assessment was from that sounds as if it was inconclusive.
I'm sorry, I didn't author the TM, and the TM could explain this more thoroughly than I am able to explain to you at this point. But yes, that is, I think, a fairly okay summary, that we did not find anything unexpected, or we didn't find any bad actors in the biology, any smoking
No
guns
smoking
there.
gun. No smoking gun. No causative element or practice that led to. Okay, so from my perspective, and perhaps other members of the board, we're not. I'm not at a place where I'm feeling very comfortable because there aren't any answers that are substantive. There's some analytical output, which is not necessarily consumable by the board, who are, for the most part, at least as far as I'm concerned, specifically, I'm not a scientist. I'm not. My background does not lend itself to the consumption of technical publications. We're still not at a place where we have answers, is what I'm trying to say, and we have perhaps closing in on it. That I'm getting that sense from everybody, but I'm also getting a sense that this is going on for a long time. We have a basic design, and perhaps it was more complex than I'm in all honesty. By describing it as a basic design, but we have issues with it, and we have issues with it now that we've had to the state, and nobody likes this. I'm sure you guys are, if not perplexed, you do appreciate at this point that the end user is becoming.
Yeah, this is Roger.
Uh,
There's no place to
yes,
raise a
Roger.
hand, so can I say something?
Yes, Roger, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
who are
okay.
you, Roger? Please identify yourself.
Oh, Roger Stevenson. I'm involved with this project, and I was involved with the original plant design back in the mid-90s, and actually the studies before.
Okay.
What I want to say
Excuse
is,
me, Roger. Excuse me,
yeah.
Roger. You're with Stantec or
Oh yeah,
consulting
well,
with
yeah,
Stantec?
I'm with Stantec, but back then it was
Okay,
JMM and then MW, and now it's Stantec. It's the same company.
okay, yeah, yeah. You
Um,
guys have changed, yeah.
yeah,
Consolidation, yes,
yeah, that happens, or expansion, I guess, depending on
Yeah.
what's going on. Anyway, those costs for the biological assays, that was trying to figure out, get an idea about what was going on with those blooms.
Oh, I
And you look
understand
at
that.
them, you can't,
I
yeah,
understand
you
that.
look
I was
at them.
just, I was a little taken aback by the price tag for it, but, you know, it's been explained as it was a rush job. Oh, okay. You know, I don't know how the sequencing of all of these things have been going because I'm not privy to that, but, the bottom line from my perspective is it didn't deliver specific information, correct, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misspeaking myself. It didn't deliver any, solution.
It
It
didn't,
eliminated. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it didn't give a specific solution, but it indicated the presence of microorganisms that that seem to prefer glycol as a carbon source, as a potential solution. Try to tweak those down. You know,
Within the design parameters,
the design parameters in the specifications.
was call as a carbon source anticipated. There's that information.
Back then,
No,
I would say
Micro C2000 was
Right.
specified and was given in the RFP to the different D-Night filter vendors in their proposals for pre-selection. And Micro C2000 is the
My understanding as well.
glycogen carbon source.
Right, and that was my understanding as well. So what does that mean then if we're looking at a different than specification carbon source as confirmed by the assay?
okay, the Micro C 2000 had been used in advance by the plant staff to investigate, for example, secondary anoxic zones to try to reduce carbon. And it has been used within the existing process for quite a while to reduce the nitrates coming out. And then at the time with the filters, it was the preference was to continue with the Micro C 2000. Well, then with the filters, things started to happen differently. And, you know, I'm not, the thing I know for sure is that biological processes are complicated. And there is not necessarily a specific answer, and you have to go in and try to dig through it and figure out what's going on.
Okay, but assumptions were made in the design and the carbon sources were part of those assumptions, correct?
I don't recall the details, but there was a decision made to go with the Micro C 2000 for the filters.
Okay, and then Bradshaw, is that because that was previous practice?
Yeah, Micro C 2000 it's a pretty common carbon source, so we certainly
Right.
didn't anticipate any
Yeah.
problems with it having
I-
used it for a long time.
Right, I recall having approved purchase of it in the past, so sounds pretty common to me from that
Yes,
perspective.
yes.
Okay, so what we're talking about then is not using it or the use of it causing some unanticipated outcome. Is that correct, Roger?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
that wasn't expected.
Well, okay, so our usual material, our usual constituent which also was part of the design parameter, didn't perform as expected. And we have a situation where we can't figure out what to do about it. That's the part I'm having a hard time understanding, and I appreciate and respect the notion that Mother Nature doesn't always, and biologicals being part of Mother Nature, don't always perform as we need them to or expect them to. But at this particular point, I don't think myself or any of the members of the board have any understanding or an apprehension of what is the nature of the problem, because it's sort of complex. And more importantly, when are we going to see daylight on the resolution of the issue? And that, as you can appreciate, is what the board is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and no, I can understand that, and I hope the sun comes up. With the next step of the startup approach is to blend an alternative carbon source in with the microC 2000 to try to reduce the glycogen that's in there, to produce those organisms that form the blobs so that the filters can run more naturally.
Okay, what's your thinking on this, Bradshaw? Does it resound with you? Make sense?
Yeah, all things being said, it does make sense as a next step as we try to narrow down and rule things out, in an effort to get to steady state operations.
Okay, and then Scott, are we gonna keep managing to not get sideways with the state?
I have asked that question of should I reach out to them, and council suggested I wait until next week. So my plan is to wait to next week to reach out to them if they haven't replied back to me.
Okay.
I think at this point we have done what we can do given the circumstances of a biological condition and a biological filter. That's my opinion. I get it that my opinion's jaded from my position, but that is my opinion, that we have given more than a college try to get this thing up and running.
I'll defer. I'll make one more statement, and then I'll defer to any of the other board members who would have a question or a statement. From my perspective and my view is we need to get this resolved and put to bed. And I understand that biologicals take time to develop and stabilize and reach a point of stasis. But however, having said that, it's gone on too long, and it's getting. I'm concerned it's gotten just simply costly, not expensive yet. But if the longer it takes without a resolution, in my experience, oftentimes leads to redesign of systems and the concomitant costs. So I'm concerned about that, and obviously, as I've earlier referenced, our relationship with the state agency. So does anyone have any other comments?
Yeah, I do. I take it for granted that the team is doing what it can do right now to try to solve a problem that we don't really understand. See some things that are out of whack but we're not sure exactly why. We did know how to take countermeasures. Sounds to me like with the June 28th deadline having passed us, worst case financially probably is that we're going to spend 3 months out of spec. And
Well, actually, that means out of
Because-
compliance.
out of compliance, excuse me,
That's a different thing. So,
because the 1st of October or thereabouts, the bar gets lowered or raised, however you want to call it. It'll be easier to do the job, even if we don't fix anything between now and then. We have any idea what 3 months out of compliance cost us?
I don't know what that cost would
Do you
be.
have any experience with places you've worked before or people you've talked to, places they worked before, what the costs of non-compliance are?
I wouldn't want to garner a guess in dollars. The best guess that I can give is that if you are showing efforts and you've made your announcements and you're open and clear to the regional board, they seem to understand that it's a complex issue.
We'll cut you some slack,
I have seen that. If you
crossed.
fingers crossed, right? And that's the intent of being open and transparent. That's my intent of being open and transparent. In dollars, if you're asking like, what's the dollar value of this? I don't know that number. What's the possible fine? I don't know.
Even, is it 100,000 or 10 million?
I don't know.
Can I chime in on that? There are mandatory minimum penalties, which are typically about $3,000. So that's a mandatory minimum,
$1,000.
$3,000 per incident, if you will. And so I'm not sure how the water boards is going to look at this. We have a summer limit, which is 8,044 pounds. It goes from May 1st to September 30th. I'm not sure if they're going to look at it. I would guess, since it's a pounds-based seasonal limit, that at the end, September, tally that all up, total nitrogen, and we submit it to the board, and it's over the 8,044 pounds, they may look at that as one violation. We continue to try to rectify the situation.
If they're not specifying daily poundage.
There's nothing in the permit that says we have to be
Day.
a daily, a weekly, a monthly, a quarterly. It says seasonal, May 1st through September 3rd.
Oh.
So, I'm not sure how they're going to look at that.
So it may be that solution, the most expensive part of this, not the penalties.
It may be as we roll through this season, and if we're not where we need to be, we may get gigged a little bit, and then we continue on, and hopefully we have resolve, and we just roll on and move forward. No problem meeting our winter limits. We're showing we can do that now. And then we roll into next summer with a successful summer season.
Another several months work on the problem. I was concerned how big a financial problem would it be between now and the end of September?
There might be some consideration as to how much you went over that 8,044 pounds. That remains to be seen. There's some talk sometimes you hear about if it was double the amount and then it means something else, or so just have to see how that plays out. But
How do you pull up that number at the end of September? Are you actually accumulating daily or weekly
yeah,
poundage numbers?
we're accumulating it based on our testing periods, and then we're doing a total for that particular month, and then we just add up the 5 months, and there's our total. Now, water boards, since we didn't start until it started in February, March. So since we only have to comply with the 8,044 pounds in a 3-month period versus the 5-month period, I'm not sure how they're gonna look at that. So if our permit says we have to meet it, we have to meet that 8,044 pounds max limit of total nitrogen between May and September,
Only
we didn't start until
3
March.
months that we were non.
Right. I don't know how they're gonna look at that. You know, that might be a little bit in our favor as well. Or they're gonna take the 8,044, divide it by 5, and then times it by 3, and then that's your limit. I don't know. Right? I'm not sure how they're gonna look at that.
Moving target.
Seems more likely.
It seems, right?
We all wish you well,
Thank you.
clearly.
Well, I'd like to point out something here. Just looking at things as in as much of a basic way as possible. The design has not complied with the specification. I'm not calling that a failure, but it is a work in progress. We have issues with, as we just went over with the state as far as reporting and not meeting deadlines. We are unclear as far as what the state may do in a response to that, and we have no known end date for resolution of the issues. Everybody's in at this point has skin in the game. We're into it $100,000 more than the contract amount, as I understand it, and there may be some other expenses in there. Stantec's design has, I'm not saying it's at issue, but obviously at this point it hasn't been the system hasn't been delivered in a functional and commissioned status, and there are more questions than answers. So assuming we're all working to that end, the board, we are going to have to be looking at this on a regular basis at the front of our considerations, among anything else that we'd be looking at, because this has got to get wrestled to the ground and put to bed, to my way of thinking.
Okay, Chairman Ulrich, thank you very much. Any other director comments? Mr. McIntosh.
I've got a couple of comments I'd like to make. First of all, I agree with Bill and a lot of the concerns that have been expressed tonight. I don't think we're going to have an answer to these questions until we won't have an answer tonight. We won't have an answer until we run the plant for 2 weeks after August 18 or whatever we start it up again. So I don't think we're going to have an answer. I do have full confidence in the team that we've assembled to study this problem. However, we are kind of up against the wall now. We may have one shot to solve it. We lose the confidence of the regional board. So the least of my concerns is how much money we're spending on consultants. I think whatever it takes, we need to solve this problem. And so I have a suggestion that's been kind of rattling around in my brain as I've been listening. Sometimes it's good to have a second opinion. As much confidence as I have in our team, I'd like to ask you, Scott, to think about whether or not we could hire some expert on these kind of problems who is known to the regional board has confidence in, and possibly help resolve all these issues and maybe follow us through the next test that we do, so that if we get through the next test, we have an expert that can guide us a little bit more. And I'm not trying to disparage any of the other opinions of anybody else, but that's my suggestion. Second opinion.
It's a suggestion on something for Scott to investigate. Yeah, correct. Anything else?
That's enough action for this item.
Okay, so this concludes our discussion on item 9. There's no board action to be taken tonight. Thank you very much, one from Stantec. We appreciate your participation. Oh, John, I'm sorry. Go ahead if you have one more thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I just found the raise hand button and to apologize to the board for if any seeming interruption there. I did not mean to interrupt you guys. My apologies.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the hand button too much. Mr. Ulrich used it and I finally saw that. Thank you very much. Okay, we are now moving on to item 10, A, B, C, and D. We handled one motion. Services for TMDL operation support, IEH Laboratories, Taft Electric, and Stantec. Budget adjustment number 2026-04, $104,880.
We'll move for item 10, items A through D.
Second.
Here we do have a motion and a second for approval, A through D. Any discussion on the matter? Okay, hearing none, I would like to call vote.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kentosh,
Yes.
Director Quillisi,
Yes.
Director Berg,
Yes.
Director Reed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And once again, the gentleman from Stantec, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 11A and B, State of California Septic to Sewer Program. Disadvantaged communities within the Ojai Valley Sanitary District Service Area Resolution for 2025-12, Central Casitas Springs.
Yes. So as directed by the board, I submitted in the West Cedar Springs, the septic to sewer in the state. The state took a look at it and they realized the size of what was considered East Casitas Springs. I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers, but I want to say it was about 80 parcels or so. And the state recommended that we break it up into two different parcels. For two reasons. One is there's more funding available for doing the preliminary design, and they realize that the funding, it's got about a $700,000 limit for the funding, and you're going to burn that up looking at 80 or so parcels. And if they were to break it up into the two smaller packs of, I think it's about 30 and 50, I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers. It would provide us a more reasonable fee, in essence, for an engineer or staff to take a look at it. So for your,
We started with one.
we started with
spring.
one Casitas Springs and then
Went to
we
two.
went to two and now
They say go to three.
go to three. That's exactly right. There's really no, there's no hardship on our side. It's for me, submission line, I can copy and paste and use the East as a template and change the details applicable to Central. It's a win for the district. It's a win for the community.
Sorry, did you say 80?
I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers. It was about 80.
Those are parcels that aren't currently connected and they're moving that way.
Correct.
Most of Central is not connected at the moment.
Correct. Most of Central is not connected and nobody on the east side of Nye is connected.
Some of the West is connected.
Correct.
Some of the West, some of the Central.
Yes. Some of the west, some of the central is on the district already.
Okay. Discussion regarding item 1A and B.
This is the program. I mean,
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'll zoom out a little bit. So the state has a septic to sewer program. Because of the proximity of a lot of the septic systems, frankly, in the valley, we already have a couple that we've submitted. So we have North Rice Road, which is up the very far end. We have another one, which is Trusty Lane, kind of over in the direction just north of Baldwin, and the Casitas Springs. Because of the proximity of these parcels and their septic systems to the river, there's a nitrogen issue that's working itself into the river. And so because there's a beneficial use to the river, that there's a reason for the state to want to reduce that nitrogen. And one of the ways of doing that is doing a septic to sewer conversion. And these parcels, Casita Springs in particular, is a special disadvantaged community. As an SDAC, that's special disadvantaged community, as an SDAC, they have an ability to go and get 100% funding for a septic to sewer conversion. The initial plan is you come in, you do a quick analysis of what's feasible, how many parcels are in there. You reach out to people, ask them if they want to partake. You look at the finances of what it's going to cost. So it's a very preliminary design. If everything comes thumbs up, then they go through the next stage, which would be an engineering design and then finally construction. And it would be 100% grant funded for all of this. So the district has to pay my time to present this and prepare this. But frankly, the fellows over at the board have been very helpful. They prepare these exhibits for me. It's not a whole lot of my time.
We're waiting for money though.
They're still waiting for money. Yes, exactly.
Application, I think, was in 2020 or
Something
something like that.
$125,000 per parcel.
They've upped it to 175.
Oh, okay. That's for engineering design, decommissioning, septic system, construction, of connections to the sewer. Is this the sewer in Casita Springs right now does not go all the way to the north end, Casita Springs. So there's a main that has to be connected. Is that part of this grant?
So what part of the grant application, the way that I've submitted it includes cost for the trunk line and the collection system line, depending on where it is. So the trunk line is built, so they wouldn't necessarily need a trunk line, but they are going to need a local collection capacity charge. So that is part of the grant. There's a line item on there.
Pays for all the laterals as well. Decommissioning of the septic.
Yes.
Okay, it's a great deal for the parcel owners that they don't have to put up anything up front. They do wind up signing for monthly service fees for the foreseeable future. So that's why not everybody signs up. All those that don't sign up hope the septic lasts and they can sell the house before they have to convert later with the big upfront charge.
And then Liz, what was the data? It must be 80% opt-in, right? I think it was, I don't remember, but
Yeah, nothing to opt in that they can afford to do the projects,
I think that's the minimum.
Yeah, there's a minimum percentage of the parcel owners have to sign up, join for the project to go ahead. But not everyone has to sign up. They wind up hoping they don't have to.
I think the upfront costs are what detoured everybody from.
Yeah. And the capacity charge is a small percentage of the real cost putting together a connection to the system. Separate from the cost of creating the connection. I'll move approval of 11A and B.
We do have a motion and a second for 11A and B. Are there any other discussion on this? Councilman, please take roll.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kintosh,
Yes.
Director Berg,
Yes.
Director Quillisi,
Yes.
Director Reed.
Any chance of in either Trusty Lane or North Rice Road broken into pieces?
I don't think so. I tried. I did try.
Okay, at this point, moving on to item 12A and B. Receive and approve 2025 climate action effects, vulnerability assessment and mitigation plan.
Thank you. So per our WDR requirement, we have a mandatory climate action plan or climate plan that we must submit. I was able to get an extension. with the extension, it is due on August 1st. So this is for your consideration. We hired Fisher Compliance. They helped us with our sanitary sewer management plans. They prepared this climate action plan. This climate action plan, it's a living document in that I think we're going to learn things as time goes on, and it provides us the ability to add those things that we do learn to the plan. I've reviewed it for your consideration.
Are there any director's comments for 12A and B? Steve?
I'm a little concerned with the report or the plan itself. It seemed to me, I saw time and time again, we talked to local staff, they said they weren't worried, so our analysis is there's no problem. And specifics for most of the 7, I think it was 7 or 9 different climate things that need to be mitigated, there was no solution, no mitigation. Just reading through the plan, I thought off the top of my head of a couple of things having to do with extreme heat or with wildfire. I expected there would be something in the plan would say, if all the hills, for example, if all the hills around the treatment plant burning, we're going to hustle down to the treatment plant and get out the hoses and be prepared to water down the buildings so they don't burn down. There was nothing. And in terms of extreme heat, their example, I don't know, because I don't know the biology here. If we have 110-degree temperatures and don't have surfaces everywhere on the ground in the treatment plant, we're going to have the surface of the treatment plant going to be soaking up heat. I don't know what effect that has on the biology, but if it's a bad effect, and I wouldn't be surprised if it were a bad effect, wouldn't we at least throw some water on the ground, let it evaporate, cool things a bit to keep the bugs alive? Once again, nothing in the plan, no solutions. I was very frustrated at that. I'm just don't understand. It looked like swimming was just cut and pasted from somewhere with the answer that talk to people, they weren't worried, so we're not worried, or thing needs to be done. And I think we deserved a better plan.
Any other director comments?
I do.
Mr. Albert?
I concur with Director Quillisi's concerns and observations. I looked at this as it appeared to be a document that was generated to comply with requirements of the state without producing any real recommendations or advice relative to that's specific to our agency. The question being is whether staff has looked at this and what they think of it, because I'd like to kind of know what that is. They're more intimately familiar with vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and rather than it being kind of a policy thing as between our agency and some other agency, I think, and this goes towards it being a living document as well. I think we need to have some input from staff as far as what their thoughts might be as far as steps that we can take as far as mitigation of some of these risks. In a worst case scenario, how do we preserve and maintain operation? That's bottom line for me. So, thank you.
Are you suggesting that Mr. Extra should consider more detail comes to specific possible emergencies?
Well, I would like to kind of have staff take a look at it and just, without breaking their pick on it, look at it and see how it reads to them and what their response or additions might be. That would make it real rather than what it appears to me to be, which is a document that's generated for consumption by a state agency because of a state policy statement.
Yeah, okay. It has the right format and it has words all over the place.
Yeah, but it
It
doesn't. Yeah, there is not a lot of there is what I'm kind of saying, and I'd like it to be tailored more specifically to the needs, the exposures, and the risks of our agency for it to be helpful. Otherwise, it's just a document.
My concern is that because it's a living document, the regional board is going to come back and say, tick the box that said you had to turn in a report, but there's no there. Need some analysis and some mitigation plans. And district is going to be on the hook. Somebody produce what, in my opinion, should have been in the first. It's the missing substance and liability for additional cost to get done what should have been done in the first place.
Okay, Dr. Jim?
I agree that it's written and sounds like a report that was prepared solely to meet a regulatory requirement. I'm okay with that. I'm ready to make a motion and get it adopted and put on the shelf so it can collect dust where it will.
I think we have to submit. We have. I won't be surprised if it doesn't get firm reception at the regional board. So I'll second your motion to receive and submit. I hate to say approve because I don't approve of it. We can receive it and we can submit it.
Are we required to approve?
I'm required to approve it.
The board is adopting it and
Board
you're
adopts it.
authorizing Scott to sign it as an approved document that represents our agency's stand on this particular agenda item. So if you want modifications to it, that should be your recommendation.
But it's either the 1st of August or the 1st of September is the deadline for submitting this, right?
It's the 1st of August. It's Friday.
August. Okay.
Friday.
We're out of time.
With an extension that I already have asked for.
Well, we do have a motion and a second for approval. And that being the case,
Approval of the item.
approval of item 12 and B. We need to take a roll call for that motion in that second.
I had a motion from Director Kentosh and a second from Dr. Quillisi. Okay. And just to clarify, this motion is for A and B as they are presented. Ready for roll?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Director Kentosh, Director Berg,
Let's say yes.
Dr. Quillisi,
Reluctantly, yes.
Dr. Reed, Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Okay, we're moving on from item 12 to item 13, discussion for the adoption of information systems technology administrator, current with an IT manager. Who would like to take the lead on this?
I'll take the lead on this one. So this is a topic that was presented to the Personnel Committee. The Personnel Committee reviewed it and voted unanimously to bring it to the whole boards for the board's consideration. Our IT manager has provided a verbal notice that he plans to retire. I'm sure everyone here can realize how important it is for us to have an IT manager. With that being said, is Allison and I went out and looked at what are the things that the district needs done. It's somewhat different than what Yan's capabilities are because Yan's been here for 32 years, right? So Yan really knows the ins and outs of the collection system. He was instrumental in preparing the IMS system. He was instrumental in preparing the GIS system, and don't necessarily need someone who is at the forefront of technology in that they are implementing new things. We're looking at someone that is more of a maintenance issue and getting things in a maintenance issue. I also think that one thing that the district could use is a little bit more of a boots on the ground person. And the boots on the ground person would be someone that could go out and sit on a 5-gallon bucket over at a lift station and hook up to SCADA and program the PLC. So with that input, we went out and had a job description. CPS HR prepared a job description, and they suggest that we have a slightly different position. It's at a reduced manager. It's reduced salary because it's not a manager. And it's a position that would be, like I said, more boots on the ground. It wouldn't be managing any people. We'd have some IT. They would have a lot of IT involvement. That's what we're looking for. So what I would like to do is have the recruitment, or have the board at least consider approve this job description for this information systems technology administrator and run it concurrent with Ian while he still works here as the IT manager. The idea being is Ian can help train or the new person as it comes on board.
Is there a timeline for this activity?
I'm sure there's a timeline. I'm not privy to it.
It's time to get talking.
It's time to get moving.
The concept is 3 to 6 month overlap. This is in the,
Short, and has built an edifice here, keeps everything running, and someone needs to keep it running. They're still going to need someone who understands a bigger picture and need those needs for changes to the system will inevitably come up, need to be implemented. And this administrator will be able to implement them. But as my father-in-law always said, and who knows why, always be the boss of the man who knows how. We're looking here for someone who knows how. He's the man that knows why. And I would strongly suggest whatever period of overlap we have, we keep a hook in this guy for the foreseeable future, just to give us advice how we may need to change things. Meantime, yes, train someone, keep the big machine running. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other? Yes, sir.
Probably just add that the personnel committee met, discussed this issue.
Yes,
None of it.
3 of us.
So that's the recommendation. So in that case, it may be time to entertain a motion.
Move approval of 13, A and B and C. A and B, excuse me.
Second,
We do have a motion and a second for any further discussion. Item. Dave, Allison, please.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kentosh,
Yes.
Director Byrd,
Yes.
Director Quillisi,
Yes.
Director Reed.
Moving on to item 14A and B, treatment plant influence hinders replacement, budget adjustment number 2026-05.
Okay, that'd be me. Well, if y'all had a chance to look at the photos of the existing channel grinders, they're it's pretty substantial pieces of equipment. They are a wearable item, unfortunately.
It looks like they work in pairs. One is wrecked and the other one looks like it's still operable. Can it be saved as a spare, or does it make a sense to do that?
Yeah, this is actually, the photos that I shown there are actually the same unit. The first photo, you can't really see the,
Like there was a cylinder on the left that was intact and one on the right that was.
right. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I think the one on the left is still operable and in the channel running as we speak. The one on the right is the one with all the damage. Now, the one on the left is operable. However, you can see the operating level, which is about 60% of the cutter stacks. Actually change these about every 3 to 5 years. There's been times where, or if we have long periods of drought flow, and push them out a little bit farther than that, but they're generally replaced on a 3 to 5 year period. We just happened to hit the 3-year mark, and the one on the right is severely damaged. We don't have a suspected piece of whatever they got in there. And
Rock?
it could have been a rock, it could have been a piece of metal. The actual screens rotate and they catch rags. They rotate them into the cutter stacks, and then the cutter stacks churn as well. And then they chew up the material and send it through the center of the grinder. This one, yeah, it got hung up on something pretty significantly, and it just tore it up. The other one has a lot of wear, even though it's operable. When they start to get a lot of wear, we spend more time down in there trying to clear debris from them because they just don't cut as good as they used to. So we have 2 channels. We have one grinder in each channel. The channels are 3 feet wide, 6 feet deep. They essentially send them downstream. The grit that comes into the plant migrates through the channel grinder, creates some wear, and it's subsequently removed from the process downstream as well. So we remove the rags and the grit downstream. Those things being said, just to give you a little bit more information about these units, they've went up by $18,000, a little over $18,000 since 2022. The initial quote that I got didn't have taxes or shipping on it. I'll always have to reach out and get that information, right? But the initial quote actually broke out a tariff cost, which I thought would be of interest to the board. And then the second quote that I got that had the taxes and the shipping on it incorporated the tariff cost into the cost per unit.
As a fixed cost, no matter what the tariff turns out to be.
Exactly. And looking at the numbers, about 8%. Seeing a lot of items that are hitting the shelf. We're not seeing these astronomical tariffs that some of us kind of anticipated. But I think they're generally saying about
6 or 8%.
Yeah, saying about 8 or 9% is kind of what's hitting the shelf right now, right? There's other costs are absorbed in different fashions by different companies, but I thought that would be of interest. So we're looking at replacing both grinders and looking to get approval for replacing both grinders. It's wearable items and being changed out a little sooner than I was hoping for.
This picture though, that shows one intact cylinder and one broken cylinder, that pair of cylinders, is that one grinder?
That's one grinder. Yeah, that's one unit.
So they're just a complete replacement. They're not parts.
We used to build, yeah. It would be cost prohibitive to try to send it in and have them rebuilt it. They just don't rebuild these units anymore. They actually used to give us kind of a quote. Then we have them ship us out 2 new ones. We send the old ones back and we get it. And we get kind of a corporate credit for them, but they don't do that any longer. And just the cost is the cost. Yeah. You look at the outer housing, you think everything there is replaceable, but I think there's a lot of other parts and pieces, including where the bearings are and the seat, the bearing seats and the housing and all those kind of things. There's a lot more to consider than just replacing parts. So I think they got away from that over
The
time.
automotive industry went that way years ago. They don't sell headlights anymore, sell assemblies.
So we get to buy the whole assembly. Yeah.
Exactly. This being the case, what's the pleasure of the board for item?
Let's do it.
Number 14. A motion?
Second.
Mr. Reed seconds. Further discussion on item 14? Okay, Allison, please call the roll.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kentosh,
Yes.
Director Bird,
Yes.
Director Pelosi,
Yes.
and Director Reed.
Okay, moving on to item 15, collection system easement updates and maintenance. Contract number is 2025-16 with Hammer Jewel and Associates. Bid adjustment number 2026-03. Who'd like to describe this process? Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so we have over 400 existing easements due to sewers that are outside of the road right of ways of the railroad right of way. So across, other, properties throughout the collection system. And of course, some of our capital improvement projects impact how we access something, add something to our system, which then requires a change to the grant deed for that property and an agreement with the homeowner.
Yes.
Yeah, so we need to record the easements for the work that we've done. So we know there are probably more we need to do, but these are two from recent projects that require some grant deed alterations. So Hamner Jewel specializes in estate and right of way, and they have a surveyor that could, appendices or exhibits for the grant deed alterations. And then, so this letter is not only for some easement updates that require grant deed alterations, but also maintenance of one critical easement that we have just upstream of this big Santa Ana lift station, where some protected oak trees have grown to the point that we can no longer get our large equipment in service from sewer easily. And so the right thing to do is to go about it. We need to get a tree permit. We need to remove those trees. We'll have to plant other trees. And we need to get a wire gate in order for our collection systems crews to get their large equipment into service. This is 24. And this one is particularly critical now. I mean, it always is. You always want to be able to maintain your lines, but it's also part of our summer, fall 2025 project for the grid place sewer lining.
And how were these numbers arrived? Were they actual budgetary?
Costs, total costs? Yeah. So everything is an actual cost. We have Hamner Jewel helping us with their surveyor. We got proposals from multiples where we could. Some of them were such small items. We just ran with it. We got 3 quotes, or we asked 3 fence companies for quotes, received 2, went with the lower cost one for the same scope. Ensured that everyone was paying prevailing wages. And then the only estimate in here is the pre-permit fees are kind of an unknown. We'll have to see what that county cost is. And then we do expect some ancillary costs associated with, what is the permit going to say? Is it going to say 1-to-1 tree replacement, or is it 2-to-1, or it can go up to 10-to-1? I talked to the bioenvironmental consultant. He didn't think, it would be on the high end. He thought it would be on the low end, but that's something where there might be a small ancillary additional cost to do a second or a third or fourth tree on the site. Little things that we can't totally expect when we have so many people helping us with a bunch of little things. So that's why there's that extra little $7,500 requested to kind of cover these costs, homeowner coordination, noticing if we need to get a encroachment permit, we're not exceeding our budget because a little bit of a curveball comes as we try to complete all these small contracts.
Okay. Thank you, Liz. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Steve.
Thank you, Liz. You used the phrase protected oak trees.
Has to do with size. So these are,
Are they, we're talking about county, not city of Ojai, right?
it's the, yes.
And I know oak trees are protected in Ojai.
In the whole coastal region. It's something like 4-inch diameter and 9-inch circumference. They become protected. But these are a bit larger.
Well, yeah, okay, but when you take a tree out, the question is, what do you have to put back in its place?
Yes.
To Ojai trees,
No, you're not.
because they'll put an oak tree anywhere for $150.
These ones, in particular, we're kind of, we have an agreement that they from the homeowner that they have a certain size that they're hoping to get because of the size of the trees that were. So it wouldn't be one of the small Ojai tree ones, but perhaps if they say it's 2-to-1, not 1-to-1, those 2 additional small trees could be smaller. In theory.
The cost of a new tree goes up substantially as the size of the tree.
Yes.
To mention, you have to get cranes involved.
I don't think so for this size, but it does, the cost is much more than. So perhaps if they increase the ratio of trees that we need to plant, that would be a good option for us to get to the permit requirements, since we've already satisfied the homeowner.
Just voting here to give you area of tree removal, replacement, ancillary tasks. The vote here is to give you some budget. Necessarily, it's all going to be spent.
Correct.
Trees are quoted.
2. Oh, 4.
4 big trees.
2 24-inch and 2 36-inch. Box size. That's how they size them when they get above the 10-gallon buckets.
Or do.
And that's to purchase and place.
I'm impressed that we have hundreds of.
Yeah, like
400 easements. It's an amazing number.
We've approved people joining the system where their lateral went through someone else's property. That's a private easement agreement, but it's not at all uncommon.
We have 400 just for our collectors and trumpets.
There are multiple quotes on the trees.
No. And the 15,000 again covers the assistance from Padre, the estimated fees, the removal of the trees, and then the trees.
Chair Ulrich, would you ask to speak on this one?
Yeah, it's, I have a question relative to easement. Establishment. How much, and I don't know that you would know this, Liz, but or Scott or Allison, how much of the system, the collection system, is do we not have fully full compliance as far as easement rights?
I do not know.
I don't know if there's a figure for that.
We could certainly identify quite a few of them.
There are known complexities with all easements.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm aware of a few sections that, in particular, for say, that goes across, part of the system that goes across Villanova, preparatory schools property. I mean, there's got to be some sort of estimate of the percentage, but are we making any forward progress in acquiring necessary easements for that? Or are we relying on the good services of the property owners to allow access?
For the most part, we do have easements over our sewers. I can only think of two kind of problem areas that you're at. Access is another issue that people run into over time, is how do we actually get to that easement that does exist?
Okay, so you're saying we have the easement, but we don't have necessarily a feasible access. Oh,
Correct.
okay, but I still the question, I still have that question of how much of our system is not fully easemented.
I can think of two locations, jump out and then have small, 20 square foot area that needs to be done in the future. And then these two, one of which was related to our FEMA emergency project response, and one of which was part of our force main relocation a couple of years ago.
So overall, you're saying it's basically incidental.
We mostly have easements, yes, over our land.
Okay.
Potentially incidental enough to actually say that we should probably look into formalizing those because there are not that many. So it's not a magnitude in which we probably shouldn't address sooner rather than later.
Yeah, my thinking is this has been an ongoing situation for several years that I'm aware of, and it would make, if we're doing it at all, it would make sense to complete the work, so that it was substantially the easements, the legalization, the necessary I's dotted and T's crossed were affected, and then we could fall back with the access issues, the practical. So
Definitely look into it as a subsequent easement project after this one is complete.
okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz, for the very specific information you've given us. It's the pleasure of the
Move approval 15A through E with the proviso, it's done, staff will complete easement position where we don't have it.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a
15A
second.
through E as amended.
Any further discussion on this item? Okay, Allison, please take roll.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kintosh,
Yes.
Yes.
Director Quillisi,
Yes.
and Director Reed.
He's past the halfway point of this evening's agenda packet. Okay, number 16, here we go. Wastewater treatment plant roof replacement project number 2025-13. Contract number 2025-13 Channel Islands Roofing, and contract number 2025-17 NV5 budget adjustment number 2026-0. Scott?
Halfway through the meeting, but only a third of the way through hearing from me. So we replaced 3 roofs back in 2021, knowing that we were going to have, future phases of roof replacement projects that include the other 4 buildings with roofs at the treatment plant. They're all
Same age.
same age, pretty much, yeah, from the 90s. And actually, the one that I'm presenting as part of this letter is much older. It's the old anaerobic digester solids handling and mixing building, now used primarily for storage. We did find asbestos on it when we did a survey of that roof. It's been removed and cleared. So that roof is ready to be replaced, but it is involved in some new decking. And so we went out to bid on that roof separately because the scope of the project is a little bit different. from the other three. So we finished 3 in 2021. We have 4 to do. This is one of the 4 presented in this letter. Other 3 that still needing to be done will be presented at a future board meeting because they're going out to bid tomorrow. So this is for the solid. I just want to give you all that background information. The solids handling building is, hasn't been watertight for a while, and now the asbestos for the roof penetrations has been removed, and so this will leak like a sieve the moment it rains. It requires a new roof. We went out to bid. We only received 1 bid from the Channel Islands Roofing, who actually did the roof replacements for us back in 2021. Why we received so few bids is a guess. I think folks are busy. This one is kind of a bear to put on the new welding together the new decking. You kind of have to have, those skills, put on the insulation and then put.
Not asbestos shingles over plywood.
Not.
Any questions from the directors tonight?
Build a roof.
Your turn.
Okay,
I
I'm
think we
for,
have a comment.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Raise your hand.
Chairman Ulrich, sure.
I had a question regarding the waiver of the use of unit costs and lump sum costs in the proposal as a minor irregularity. Could you clarify that, please?
Yes, so there was a typo leading to a different interpretation of our bid schedule than we anticipated. And so they identified their unit costs on the bid schedule and then provided a total, in the extended total column. We verified with the bidder that their intent was the sum of the total column, which is how we interpreted their bid schedule. And then we are approving that the mutual understanding varies slightly from our original anticipated understanding as a minor irregularity. We did have legal counsel review that, and
Doesn't change the lump sum.
no.
And okay, and in the event the encountered conditions change somehow, the absence of unit costs aren't going to potentially cause any issues.
We always identified them as lump sum items, so that is
Okay.
how we paying them. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I'll move for item 16. From A through F.
We have a motion for item 16.
Second, go ahead.
Second.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second for approval, 16A through F. Any further discussion on this? Okay. Allison, please take roll.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
and Tosh,
Yes.
Director Byrd, Director Quillisi,
Yes.
Director Lee.
Good. Item 17. Wastewater treatment plant HVAC rooftop unit. Track number 2025-18. Budget adjustment number 2026-02. Cheers, Liz.
Yes, my last one. So, the rooftop, within all, so I mentioned that we have 3 additional buildings that need new roofs when I was discussing the previous board letter. So in all 3 of those buildings, there's highly critical electrical that runs the plant. One of those buildings is our new chemical building, which was altered during our chem project, our chem improvements in 2021, as well as the recent TMDL project that was from 2022 to 2024. That built up roof needs to be replaced, but all of the HVAC on that building is new as part of those projects. The other 2 buildings, one of which houses a motor control center for all of our influent pump station and, the front end of the treatment plant, our pumps and I think our grit classifier and some of our solid, or that's it. Is in there. And then within the solids handling building, we have another motor control center. Those HVAC rooftop units were put in 2009. They've started to fail, had emergency call outs to get them back running again. And it's appropriate to swap them now in conjunction with the roofing project. So we have the best, product and seal. They need to be replaced anyways. And now is the right time to do it.
I have a question for you on that. I'm aware that there's been several changes regarding use of different freons.
Yes, it's
Comply with California.
right. Yeah. They changed the regs in January 2025. So these are new units that will be purchased as part of this. They will meet those regulations.
Efficiency levels?
That I'm less aware of, but I assume so.
And are these gas-fired heat? Or they pumps all electric?
I believe they're all electric. Yeah, they're matching what we have there next. They're all electric.
Anything else?
Sounds like a good time to do it.
Yeah, with the roof, yeah, it's a good time. What a coincidence.
I'll move approval of 17A through D.
Second.
Motion and a motion and a second for 17A through D. Further discussion? Okay, Allison, please take.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kentosh,
Yes.
Director Berg,
Yes.
Quillisi,
Yes.
and Director Reed.
Yes.
Hey, moving along, item 18, initiate taxations of 0522, 10542, 0562 Creek Road. Resolution number 2025-13. 216 Verano Drive, resolution number 2025-14.
We are coming back to you guys with two more annexations. We've had actually quite a high number this year of annexations coming into the district. I think that has something to do with a little bit more stringent requirements through building and safety these days. But so it's a yay for us. I have 10522 for 2 and 62 Creek Road. Those annexations are actually coming through as part of a right of entry agreement that the district has with the property owner. The property owner has fulfilled their obligation under that right of entry sort of compensation agreement. And in exchange, the district has agreed to annex these particular two parcels plus a portion of another one as a result of lot line adjustment and legalization of two of the three parcels. One was already legal. And so this property is actually for sale. So we are trying to fulfill our end of the agreement prior to it closing escrow. It's not currently in escrow.
Clean title we're looking for.
We just want, know what the arrangement is and the current property owners know what the arrangement is. And it's best that we start with a clean slate with new owners so that when they approach us for further development, there are no sort of hanging chads, if you will. So that is why this one is presented. The district is fully facilitating this annexation on behalf of the property owner. And 316 Verano is annexing as a requirement for a remodel with increased demand. They are not being allowed to increase the size of their septic tank to accommodate, and they must connect to the district. Luckily, their neighbor did so several years ago, so it's not great timing, really. And so both of these are before you for approval. It's the resolution that is required as part of the annexation packet is why we bring this to the board. So looking for approval of A, B, C, D, and E.
Some quick question. The Verano Drive annexation. I'm not clear on advantage to having someone connect before you as a neighbor. Does that mean that they can connect to their lateral?
Most of the time, someone's had to do a main line extension, so they've brought it closer to their property line. Their neighbor did, how many feet was it, Liz, that Browns did? It was quite a length, several hundred
500
feet.
feet at $100 a foot.
That's right.
I wonder if the property owners the other one kind of subsidized the cost?
They tried to. So there was initiation to try to get buy-in at the time in which this property owner did that mainline extension. All of the neighbors at the time opted out. And so they did not share in any of the cost in this particular, the district does not do payback agreements anymore. And so the district provided a ADU capacity unit as a sort of a consolation to Mr. Brown, who did the mainline extension, and he was satisfied with that. And that was at the advice of legal counsel at the time. We no longer do payback agreements and.
No escrow accounts that the neighbors pay into.
Correct. And Dennis can speak to this. It's very complicated over time. We end up having to escheat stuff to the state and pay our attorney to try to locate people. And there's a lot of legal requirements and there's a lot of legal technicalities in doing that that we've sort of discovered the district is maybe not huge proponents for over time. And so, yes, the main line was brought significantly closer, actually quite early, right in front of their property. So pretty timely.
Questions from directors?
I have one question. I seem to recall reading through the packet this week that there was also a property at 46 Lama, and I didn't see it here.
1046 Cuyama is in the city, so those are already annexed. 3 parcels on Cuyama that were divided, 1046, 1068, and 1090. Those were already all annexed.
46 went through a lot split, I think, to create 1068 or something.
Correct.
One of those laterals down the hill
Each side.
side, right, okay.
Yep.
So there's no cost involved for 46?
Yep.
They have to connect to the sewer now?
The ones are pretty
Are they
connected.
already connected?
I think those are build ready now. They are. I think those are all build ready.
I just know a little bit about it from
Yeah.
on the city planning.
It was years ago that they analyzed all the stuff, but I believe that we determined that the only hindrance was the city made them legal non-conforming.
Other questions from director? Have item 18 before us. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. 18A and B.
We have a motion. 18.
Okay.
Great. You did. Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on item 18? Awesome. Please take a moment.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kentosh,
Yes.
Director Berg, Director Quillisi,
Yes.
and Director Reed.
Thank you. Item 19, cost of living salary adjustment, resolution number 2025-0.
So this item was brought to the person last week for review. There was a unanimous recommendation to bring it as presented at 3.2%. This is something that the board reviews this time every year. And it's June over June CPI for a proposed cost of living salary adjustment. This would be an adjustment to our current salary schedule, which is attached for review. I believe it was adopted in December of 2024 as the effective date. This would be a 3.2% cost of living increase to all salaries with the exception of the general manager, whose salary will be part of his terms of his contract. The committee, we discussed how we arrived at June over June. For those of you who've been on the board for an extended period of time, you'll remember that we used to use February over February in preparation for the budget, so that the cost of living that we were using was had already been established. We opted to do June over June. The inflation was quite high. And so we adjusted it to curb against some of the inflation that was happening at the latter part of the fiscal year's months. We sort of adopted June over June going forward after that adjustment. It corresponds with our fiscal year. In this particular budget, we anticipated CPI being 3.5. It came in at 3.2. So there's a little bit of savings there. So no budget adjustment will be needed to the currently adopted budget for 3.2. At the committee, there was also discussion about if there was a better source of CPI that was more related to this area as a whole. One of the comments that I made is one of the area accurate sources of data for inflation is actually the Cal Lutheran economic forecast. Unfortunately, that's not done timely enough to use that for this particular purpose. It would be interesting. It's actually become a little bit hard to obtain. Used to get it every year just as a general review and reference for anything we may need. It might be worth getting a copy just to compare what it is that they sort of used as index and similarity to this to see if they're somewhat close or way off. Just for curiosity and discussion purposes. But as of now, the CPI index that we use is the most commonly used amongst all the public agencies in the area. When anybody is reviewing cost of living, it's a discussion topic in which we all share what exactly we're bringing or our board has approved and what source we used. And there's a common denominator. The only difference is what month over month they use. And so there, like I said, this is fairly consistent and regularly adopted amongst public agencies.
Standard.
We're going with Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim. That's the closest we can get.
Director, comments or questions regarding living? All right, we do have a motion before us. Sorry, we do have this question before us for 19.
I'll move approval of 19A through C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion regarding item 19. Take roll.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kintosh,
Yes.
Director Byrd,
Yes.
Yes.
and Director Reed.
Okay, item 20. Very similar action, approve, authorize increasing employees' cafeteria health insurance plan to $2,650 per month per employee effective December 1st, 2025. Cover the increase in premiums as of January 1st, 2026. Approved resolution 2025-11.
This is yet another annual item that we review at the same time every year, most often concurrent with the cost of living. The new CalPERS health insurance premiums are released, and it will require to maintain the current level of benefits for health insurance, an increase to $2,650 a month from the $2,400 that it is currently. To allow our employees to be 100% covered at a family level HMO. As I explained to the personnel committee when we reviewed this on Thursday, the cafeteria plan was originally adopted. It established the coverage at a family level PPO in order to stabilize the increases of the cafeteria plan, and based on evaluating the plans that were most popular amongst our employees. About 3 years ago, we shifted to looking at the base being a family HMO plan. The PPO plans tend to increase quite significantly from one year to the other. The HMO plans generally increase anywhere from 5 to 8%. The PPO plans, we've had some of them increase anywhere from 11 to like 16%. So this allows us to sort of stabilize a little bit. It works for 95% of our employees. Those who it doesn't work for are generally the folks who choose to cover their family at a high level PPO, they are going to have some out-of-pocket cost. And that's fairly common when you choose the highest level of the premium plan. We do have the $650 cash back provision still in place under our cafeteria plan ordinance. This will remain. A lot of times this is a topic of a discussion. How many of our employees get cash back? Over time, it's become very nominal. So our family level employees do not receive any cash back. They haven't for quite some time. So mostly it is an equalizer for our singles who don't utilize this to its fullest extent. And that will probably continue to be the case as we adopt based on this particular trend. The cash back is going to become less and less of a consideration. Pretty much it. Once again, this is not going to have any budget consideration or budget adjustment that is needed. We amply budgeted for this. We have some vacancies that we've had, and we have our new hires have come in at a lower level, singles, and so we always budget for the highest for those vacancies. So there's some savings there, some adjustments of plans and folks who maybe don't have the number of dependents anymore. So we don't anticipate any budget adjustment needed. In the event that we do, we'll revisit that at reconciliation at the end of the fiscal year. If any of our employees change or get family status changes and they jump on more expensive plans or get dependents, those obviously become wild cards in any fiscal year that we can discuss at the time, but I don't anticipate any of that being a problem with the current budget.
Thank you, Allison. This is something we consider annually, so further discussion from the directors, any? We'll entertain a motion at this point.
Unanimously recommended to the board.
All right, I'll make a motion to provide them in a third.
Second.
All right, very good. We do have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion on this item? Allison, please take roll.
Director Ulrich,
Yes.
Director Kentosh,
Yes.
Director Bird,
Yes.
Director Pelosi,
Yes.
and Director Reed.
Yes.
All right. This time we're going to make a decision to move the closed session item number 21 to the end of the agenda. Following, or right after item 28. So with that being the case, let's move on to item 27, Stephen File. Monthly financial reports, monthly and quarterly investment reports, staff reports, committee reports. Are there any of these information items that the directors would like to clarify or discuss? Okay. On to item 27, items of interest and correspondence. Article. Item 28, board member comments.
You again to the operational staff, all the pictures. Makes us a little less ignorant.
It's always our pleasure.
Okay. Moving on to item 29. I'm sorry, 28. There's something.
General Manager comments.
Yes, I'm sorry, general manager, item 28.
Yes, actually, if you guys wouldn't mind, I can shoot to page 498 on the agenda. I'll use that. It's my summary of my CSDA. I'm going to use that as my general manager comments. I think there's some really important things up there. I just wanted to go over those with you. I went to a California Special District Association. They had a general manager summit. We're up there to the general manager summit. It's a few-day event, and I've got some stuff I'd like to share. One of the things that came to light is there's a competitor to Leif and Camp. regulates a competitor of the Ventura County pool. It's called California Class. It may be worthy of a presentation to the Finance Committee. It's triple A rated, has a high yield. Cash flow is there, so it may be a consideration that you guys may want to take a look at.
It'd be a good idea to look into alternatives of that sort every few years.
I also spent a little bit of time with a bank, California Bank of Commerce. California Bank of Commerce is a no-fee, fully collateralized FDIC bank. They specialize in the public sector. They have a money market account that matches LAIF, which is slightly more than what we get from Bank of the Sierra. They also are interested in that their signatures don't require Social Security for the signatures of the district, and how that is. Yes, I've also found that interesting, and no home addresses. So if there's a concern from the directors that they won't want their Social Security numbers or home addresses shared, there's something in there. This bank has offered to do a 2-month review of our existing bank statements to see if they have any possible savings for us. I had
Do you have any local branches?
no. It's the closest one that they had, I think, is in. No, there's no local branches. It would all have to be removed. I had a nice visit with a group. It's called governmentdeals.com. Governmentdeals.com is an outfit that allows for the surplus of material. Ventura River Water District uses them frequently. And frankly, Marty gave them a shockingly great review, I should say. So that's something that we may want to take a consideration of. It's the way that you post what you want to sell up there. There is a buyer's premium. There's no cost to the district. And part of the rules is whatever folks buy, they have to take. And so you may just have steel and something that is nearly worthless that you may actually have to pay to have removed. But if someone bids $1 for it, they get it out of there for you. So it may be worthwhile of getting rid of some truly surplus stuff that is a cost, it's a liability.
We have a lot of that.
Not a lot, but there's a few little things here and there. We have some totes that start to stack up. There's little bits here and there, not a lot, but. A couple presentations I went to. There was a presentation on culture. Some interesting parts of the culture is really, what is the culture? And the reality is the Proctor's, his statements is it's a 50-day moving average of what is. It's nothing more complicated than that. It doesn't matter what you want it to be. It doesn't matter what the top says it is or the directors. It is what it is. And along those same lines is he did have some suggestions on asking some questions that would help a district understand its culture. One question, a couple of the questions that he asked is the workplace better this year than it was the year before? What's the culture today? And where do you want the culture to be next day? So that'd be questions that one could ask themselves, directors could ask themselves, and staff could ask themselves. I came up with a couple of action items for me, not for the board. It's in my reports. One of the action items when it comes down to the culture is perhaps look at what are the mission, the values, and the culture of the district. Another presentation I attended was on working with it was titled Working to a Boss of 5. I don't want to be disparaging. For me, it's 7. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that. Yeah, right, exactly. But he had an interesting book that was drafted by a friend, and he did have a suggestion of consider a strategic plan.
Discuss that.
Yeah. I'm going to skip over a couple in here. One that did come up toward the end is artificial intelligence. I had no idea how shockingly strong or powerful some of this artificial intelligence is now. As an example, one of the proctors had a video of herself giving a speech in English. You can load up on a website, and in the course of minutes, it will translate it to whatever language you want it to, including dubbing your mouth so that your mouth matches what you've spoken. It picks up when you speak it, it picks up your cadence, it has your voice, and it turns it into a foreign language. And that's truly almost over the counter at this point. So going back onto that, a couple of things when it comes to AI is there's a lot of power in there for us to use and to utilize. But the proctor did have one general comment, and that was to create an AI policy. That being said, is I think that there's probably other bigger districts and entities that are probably going to get in on that before us, and we probably want to hold off a little bit. But I don't know that we want to hold off on using AI. I think that there is some power involved, and it may be a consideration. There's other stuff in here. You're more than welcome to take a look at it and give any questions later on. That's it for my my general manager comments.
Scott, in preparation for moving to closed session, we're going to take a brief recess here so that we can prepare for the closed session.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you, everyone.
We'll go ahead and go into closed session on some existing litigation, that being the case filed by Richard Bain. We will reconvene afterwards in open session to report on any action.
Could I make a interjection?
Yes.
Before we consider any changes as far as the banking is concerned for the district, I think we should also make an inquiry as far as what the impacts would be to staff, because that isn't a very simple thing. Matter of fact, it could be from a use of time, staff time, actually not ultimately a gain. So I'd like that just to be reviewed from the perspective of cost benefit.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
I was on the board of an El Segundo based 01C team still. And we went to an internet bank, sort of. Closest branch was in Beverly Hills. And that was too far away. I don't know where the closest branch about here. Doing everything electronically has a lot of advantages. We're not requiring staff to do anything. That bank, other than Wilson. It's not uniformly good.
I agree.
We're good. Okay, we're coming out of closed session at 8:19. We're nothing to report.
Correct.
And this time, 29 adjournment at 8:19. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.